Well, hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Ashmat Kumar, and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. The world's most powerful leaders congregate in Delhi for the G20 summit. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Japan's Kishida, Italy's Meloni, and others arrive at the national capital. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will officiate the meeting as the G20 chair. Prime Minister Modi set to hold 3 bilateral meetings today with leaders from the US, Bangladesh and Mauritius. President Biden lands later tonight and will hold a meeting with the Prime Minister Modi at his residence. Leaders of India, USA, Saudi Arabia and UAE likely to announce a major joint infrastructure deal. US news outlet Axios reports that the deal is likely to connect Gulf and Arab nations throughout a network of railways. WorldBank praises India for its financial inclusion rate of 80%, says digital infrastructure has fast-tracked what would have been a 47-year journey to just 6 years. Liquidity boost for banks, RBI to discontinue the incremental cash reserve ratio in a phased manner by the 7th of October. The move was introduced last month to drain excess liquidity following the withdrawal of the 2,000 rupee notes. Sensex and Nifty gained for the 6th consecutive session, ending at the highest level in 2 months. Mid-cap index ends at a record high for the 9th straight session. Major indices also post the first weekly gain in over 2 months. Reliance Industries joins hands with US tech giant NVIDIA to develop a large language model like ChatGPT in Indian languages. NVIDIA also announces deals with TCS for enterprise software and Tata Motors to develop autonomous driving. Reserve Bank approves appointment of Deepak Gupta as interim managing director and CEO of Kotak Mahindra Bank for a period of 2 months. The bank submitted names of 2 potential candidates after Uday Kotak stepped down from the post. The central bank is likely to finalize the candidate for the top position soon. Policy Bazaar's parent company, PB Fintech, weighs in entry into the insurance business, starting with reinsurance. Sources say that the insurance aggregator has held informal talks with the regulator. Well, the G20 clearly in focus there. The world's most powerful leaders have started arriving in the national capital for the 2-day G20 summit. The 2-day summit at the Bharat Mandapam will have deliberations on several issues, including reforms for multilateral development banks, cryptocurrency norms, climate financing, and tackling debt vulnerability. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has arrived in the capital. Sunak and Prime Minister Modi are expected to hold bilaterals on the sidelines of the summit on the much-awaited free trade agreement. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida has also arrived. Japanese media reported that he will be explaining the safety of treated and diluted water discharge from the Fukushima Daiichi plant to the global leaders. US President Joe Biden is also headed for India. He lands later in the evening. He will be holding a meeting with the Prime Minister at his residence. Well, our team of CNBC-TV18 reporters are on the ground. And in fact, joining us now is our Managing Director, Shireen. Shireen, you're at Ground Zero. For those of us who are outside the Mandapam, who are experiencing the fear of missing out, give us a mood check. What is the atmosphere like?
Well, I'm going to actually take you on a tour and get you to see what we are seeing at this point in time. Remember, we're in the International Media Center. This is about 30,000 square meters of space that has been created specifically for the purposes of the domestic and the international media to cover the G20. It's a large area, so I'm going to get my video journalist to walk around with me and get you to experience what we are seeing. Just a short while ago, the inaugural press conference where the G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant, along with the Foreign Secretary and of course the G20 coordinator Harshvardhan Shringla and the Economic Affairs Secretary did present India's point of view as far as the G20 is concerned. Remember, our presidency comes to an end with this ministerial, and we will be handing over the presidency to Brazil. In the words of the G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant, he believes that India will make a big impact with the narrative that it's been able to create. Those are his words. When asked about issues around China and Russia, and specifically about China not being present here, President Xi Jinping has decided not to be here at the G20 summit. The word from the Indian government, from the G20 Sherpa, was clear that, look, we've tried our best to work with every country possible to arrive at consensus, and we've done what we can. So they didn't specifically address the issue of Xi Jinping's absence here for the G20 summit. On the issue of Russia and Ukraine, once again, both the Foreign Secretary as well as the G20 Sherpa making it clear that Russia and Ukraine were discussed in the context of fuel, food and economic security. When asked specifically on whether there is going to be a joint declaration or not, and remember there have been question marks on that, didn't say very much, saying that, look, it is our job as Sherpas to present recommendations, and I'm given to understand that even this evening there is going to be another negotiation of G20 Sherpas at 5 p.m. this evening, and it really is down to the wire, just like it was in Bali as well. So the expectation or the hope certainly is that there will be consensus and there will be a joint communique, but at this point in time there is a question mark on that issue. What is the big focus that India is showcasing here, at least as far as the ministerial is concerned? If you take a look at the pavilions that have been set up at the Bharat Mandapam, very, very clearly the digital story of India being showcased here. The G20 ministers are going to, heads of state will get to experience the UPI journey. There is an RBI pavilion here as well at the G20, and that really is going to be, I would say, the highlight of the G20 story of India's presidency that will be presented to the world, what we've been able to do as far as digital public infrastructure is concerned. In fact, the WorldBank also putting out a report which essentially highlights the leaps that India has been able to do as far as financial inclusion is concerned on the back of Jan Dhan Aadhaar and the mobile trinity or the JAM trinity, and of course then with the advent of things like UPI. It is going to be a packed day and a half. Remember, the ministerial will kick off in the morning tomorrow, but Parikshit is of course going to give you all the details. What you are going to see right here on these large screens behind us, arrival visuals of the leaders who've already arrived. We've got several heads of state who have already arrived, landed in the capital, and of course in a short while from now we will see President Biden, etc., also coming in to India. There was of course a question mark on President Biden's arrival, considering the fact that the First Lady got COVID just before they had to depart, but President Biden will be arriving in India in a short while from now. So that really sums up the mood here at the Bharat Mandapam as we get into the final lap, the countdown, so to speak, as far as the ministerial is concerned. But Parikshit is standing by now to take us through what we can expect over the next day and a half. 3 sessions, Parikshit. That is how the meeting has been structured. Take us through what we should expect from tomorrow morning starting 8 a.m.
Well, 8:30 a.m. is when the Prime Minister will start greeting delegates here at the Bharat Mandapam. There are 43 delegations, their heads who will arrive here. There will be a meet and greet for about 1 hour at the Bharat Mandapam, after which the first session begins. And every session will discuss issues like debt restructuring, the impact of the war on food, fertilizers and supply chains, climate change, and what we can do to transfer technology and increase climate finance for developing nations. The voice of the Global South, India has been saying that it will put the voice of the Global South on on the table squarely during the G20 leaders' negotiations. Multilateral development bank reform, also how to make sure that they have at least $200 billion additional funding for the next few years as well. So there is a lot on the table, but of course Ukraine, Russia would be a problem area when it comes to the communique. 15 bilaterals. Tomorrow the first session goes on from 9 in the morning till about 1. There is a working lunch followed by the second session. Bilateral meetings. The Prime Minister has 15 bilateral meetings starting with Biden today, and then there is a gala dinner which will be a special affair, but the leaders will have time to talk and chat with each other and reflect on the day.
No document in the world would have such a strong voice for the global south and the developing countries as the New Delhi Leaders' Declaration. And therefore, the Prime Minister's vision of India's G20 presidency being a very inclusive presidency has been our aim.
I believe the G20 has been extremely effective, and especially under India's leadership, our goals for the G20 have coincided closely with those of India. We've tackled very important challenges.
It's a principle. Now we need to see what it means in terms of modalities, in terms of financing. Each meeting should be used as a step to converge, as a step to bring more fairness at the international level. And in the African Union, let's see what will be the decision. But one thing is clear, the EU supports the African Union membership in the G20.
Demonstrating and taking the leadership, in technology being for the, for common good, but across the board. And I think what better country than India to demonstrate this? Just recently, we saw, over 500 million accounts being created, Jan Dhan bank, accounts. So this initiative for financial inclusion, and I think India, having already done it, will be taking the leadership, the Global Forum for Financial Inclusion. Relatedly, also the public digital infrastructure. Yes. And I think especially the way in which we handled COVID, the demand side push that we gave was very well targeted because we relied on this public digital infrastructure. So showing that public digital infrastructure can be used in times of crisis, but also in good times to enable productivity, improvements.
Well, that's the former Chief Economics Advisor, K.V. Subramaniam. They're talking about the India stack and the digital public infrastructure. As I pointed out, this is going to be part of the story that India will showcase to the world. The Prime Minister just tweeting saying India is delighted to host the 18th G20 summit in New Delhi. It is my firm belief that the New Delhi summit will chart out a new path in human-centric and inclusive development. That's the Prime Minister's tweet out just a few minutes ago. We are going to take a break here on the CNBC-TV18 special on Business 360. When we return, we take you to the RBI Pavilion and a lot more. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a moment.
Welcome back. Now, US-based chip company NVIDIA has announced partnership with a slew of Indian companies to boost India's artificial intelligence infrastructure. This comes after Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the company's CEO, Jensen Huang, to discuss India's potential in artificial intelligence space. Reema Tendulkar now joins us with the details. Reema, big push for India's AI drive. Take us through the names of the companies that NVIDIA will be partnering with.
This is big news. Reliance Industries is partnering with NVIDIA to make India an AI powerhouse, to usher in an AI revolution. So here's how the partnership will work. NVIDIA will provide access to their most advanced super chips. So basically, NVIDIA brings in the technology. Now, Reliance Industries will provide the AI infrastructure. You need data centers, and that will be provided by, Reliance's Jio, and it will go up to 2,000 megawatts. So this AI infrastructure will be hosted on the data centers provided by Reliance Jio, and the idea is for this partnership to build our own large language models, like your own ChatGPT, but in India's regional languages. So you can now have generative AI applications which are made for India, tailored for specific India applications. According to the press release, Reliance and NVIDIA will be building in an AI infrastructure which is more powerful than India's fastest supercomputer today. If you remember, Mukesh Ambani in the AGM said 7 years ago, Jio promised broadband connectivity to everyone, everywhere. We have delivered. Today, Jio promises AI to everyone, everywhere, and we shall deliver. And this is a big step towards that. But separately, NVIDIA's partnership doesn't end with Reliance Industries. They're also partnering with the Tata Group, TCS, Tata Motors, Tata Communications. So Tata Communications will also provide the infrastructure required for that. With TCS, they will be building large enterprise, that's big company applications.
We stand committed to create up to 2,000 megawatts of AI-ready computing capacity across both cloud and edge locations. Here is my promise to our countrymen. 7 years ago, Jio promised broadband connectivity to everyone, everywhere. We have delivered. Today, Jio promises AI to everyone, everywhere.
Well, that's the big announcement that's coming from Reliance Industries and NVIDIA. And since we're talking about AI and we're talking about technology, as I pointed out, this is going to be one of the centerpieces of what India presents to the world here at the G20 Ministerial, at the G20 Summit. My colleague Sapna Das caught up with RBI officials at the RBI Pavilion. Remember, the RBI is going to be showcasing India's digital journey when we talk about financial inclusion, including things like the UPI, etc. Let's listen in to what they have to say.
We are here at the RBI's Innovation Pavilion, just ahead of the G20 Summit. On display, of course, is the Reserve Bank of India's digital currency. And, of course, we'll know more about what all RBI has done in the field of fintech and also digital innovation. We are now going to be joined in conversation by DGM RBI, Brijesh. Thank you so much for giving time to CNBC. Very quickly, please explain to us what is on display here and what does it mean for the common Indian citizen.
So in this RBI Innovation Pavilion, we are displaying central bank digital currency, that is the digital rupee, on which we are doing the pilot. And on the second section, we have public tech platform for frictionless credit, which has been recently announced, and we have also started pilot on it. And on the third section, we have a display of the payment system sites, the different type of initiatives which our payment systems has done, that is on display. Okay.
So coming quickly first to the digital rupee, basically, what is it that you can share with us at the moment?
See, here we are showcasing the live transactions. You can experience the live transactions of central bank digital currency in this innovation pavilion. So our partner banks, today Canara Bank is there. So our partners bank, they have set up the whole system where you can actually see the live transactions, how it happens. You can experience the different features of the digital app which we have for the central bank in our digital rupee. So all the features you can experience in this pavilion.
Okay. And give us a sense of as to what is the number of transactions at the moment, how many users you have been able to get in. There are pilots going on, at least as far as your wholesale and retail segments are concerned. So where are we leading on this at the moment?
So in retail segment, we have more than 15 lakh customers are there. And our merchants have around more than 3 lakh merchants have also been onboarded. But the best part is after the introduction of interoperability with the UPI and UPI, the acceptance infrastructure is now universal. So any merchant who is having UPI QR code, they can accept central bank digital currency, that is digital rupee. Okay. So it is now universally accepted.
Well, that is a glimpse of what is on display at the RBI Pavilion here at the Bharat Mandapam. This is going to be playing host to the G20 Summit, to the G20 Ministerial. The heads of state will be here right next door. This, of course, is the International Media Center. Well, speaking of technology, the big man from NVIDIA, the CEO, of course, is in India. He did meet with the Prime Minister a few days ago and currently in Bangalore after inking those announcements with Tata's as well as Reliance. And says that this is a golden time for India. This is a genuine international desire to invest in India, unlike any time in history before. India's natural resource is IT. It has got to transform into an AI natural resource. Well, that is the perfect way to close for Business 360. But remember, we are going to be bringing you live coverage over the next 2 days here of the G20 summit as heads of state gather to take the discussions and the deliberations forward. Will there be consensus that will emerge? That is the big question. Of course, tomorrow morning is when you will see the heads of state meet here for the very first session, and then, of course, it will end with the gala dinner in the evening. But for now, from all of us here on the team for Business 360, thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up here from the G20 venue.